Hello everybody, it's Fergus, the minister from Blackhall St Columba's Church. I'd like today to continue with our theme of remembering. We've done this for a few weeks now because November is a time that we remember. But this week, this Sunday, Sunday the 15th of November, we remember something different. And we're remembering people in prison. Now, that may seem like a strange thing to remember, but we're called upon in the Bible to remember people who are in prison. And there are some reasons for that. And today, I'd like to read you a story about two people who were in prison. Now, for once, it's not a story about Jesus, but it's a story about two people who followed Jesus, two people who came along telling everybody about Jesus after he had been crucified and he had been raised from the dead. And their names are Paul and Silas. Now, Paul and Silas followed Jesus, and they used to tell the whole world, everybody they met, about the good news that Jesus had died, but God had brought him back to life. And they went about telling people this, but not everybody wanted to hear this. They upset a few people. And so I'm going to read you a story, because after they had gone and they had told everybody about Jesus, and they had told everybody that they had to change their ways because of what Jesus was saying, this is what happened. This is a story of how Paul and Silas were imprisoned. And the multitude, that's the crowd of people, the multitude rose up together against them. And the magistrates, that's the judges, tore off their clothing and commanded them to be beaten. And when they had laid many lashes, that's a kind of whip, and made many lashes upon them, they cast them into the prison. They threw them in prison. They charged the jailer to keep them securely. That's telling him to keep them securely. And he, obeying his orders, had them put into the inner prison and locked their feet in chains. At midnight, Paul and Silas prayed, and they sang praises to God, and all the other prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. Immediately all the doors were opened, and everybody's bonds, that's their chains, were loosed. The keeper of the prison woke up out of his sleep, and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and was going to kill himself, thinking that the prisoners had all fled and he would get into trouble. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." Then the jailer called for a light, and he sprang into the cell, trembling, and he fell down before Paul and Silas and brought them out of the cell. And he said to them, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" And they said, "Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and you shall be saved, you and your house." And they spoke the word of the Lord to him. That means they told him all about Jesus and what God had done through him. And they told it to all that were in the jailer's house. And at the same hour of the night, Paul and Silas washed their wounds, and they baptized the jailer and all his family. So that is a great story about how Paul and Silas were put into prison. But do you know what? Even though they were locked up and they had had their clothes torn and they had been beaten by a lot of people, they knew that God and Jesus was still with them, and they were able to pray and to sing praises to God, and God came and helped them through that time. And because of the way that they acted, because they showed love and compassion, that meant that the jailer saw how God worked through Paul and Silas, and he too changed his ways, and he too became a follower of Jesus and a follower and a believer of God. And that's what we need to remember. It doesn't matter where we are, God is always with us. All we need to do is remember him and to pray to him and to ask for his help. I hope we remember that as we remember all those people who are in prisons, both in this country and in other countries, and we think about what it must be like to be away from all their family and friends and have all the restrictions on them, and we have some sympathy for them. Okay, I hope you liked that story, and I look forward to coming back next week and talking to you then. Have a good week. Bye bye now.